210. You're live on the next round.
Hello?
Hello, yes.
Hello. Hey, guys. Will, how you doing? How you guys doing?
Will, welcome aboard to the next round.
Hey, guys, just wanted to kind of touch, I know you talked about it a little bit about that Golovkin fight falling through with Chavez. I mean, that's something, it was hard to believe even when they announced it. I mean, just because, Chavez has been such a flake over the last years. But what I wanted to touch on was the thought process, Bob Arum. I think he really messed up, the Brian Vera fights. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the, that doubleheader HBO did with, where Kovalev and Stevenson, they fought soft touches, with the intent of, building towards a bigger fight between them two, and they didn't secure it. So it pretty much, I mean, we had two subpar HBO fights for nothing, and that's basically what happened. I mean, both of the Brian Vera fights, the only reason they would be broadcast on HBO was, with the intent of Chavez facing, like a big name matchup, but
well, I don't think those situations are analogous. I mean, when in terms of Kovalev-Stevenson, you're right. The November 30th doubleheader was with the express intent of making them have a showdown, which obviously didn't happen. As it relates to this fight, Chavez didn't really express any real interest in fighting Golovkin until after the second Vera fight, and the only reason why they showed Vera Chavez is because Chavez is aboard, and he is a ratings grabber for HBO. But it's not like they had this long plan, and they didn't think at the beginning of the year that Golovkin-Chavez was going to be in the mix. Now, Gabe, we have to talk about this a little bit. Bob Arum and Top Rank offered Chavez a deal where essentially, if he got $7 million for Golovkin guaranteed, if he wins that fight, he gets $10 million. If he loses that fight, he gets $5. So basically, they added another fight to the existing time on the contract, which I guess technically is an extension. And they came back with, once they turned that down, saying, okay, you work with $2 million guaranteed, and then you'll get upside, which I guess could have made him, $5, $6 million. Here's my opinion. You turn down a 2-fight deal where you can get knocked out in 10 seconds in each fight, yet you're still guaranteed $12 million. Gabe, in my opinion, when it's all said and done, this may be an unpopular one, I think Chavez didn't want Golovkin. I think he thought better of it.
I agree.
Yeah, I think the kind of loss that you would take from a Golovkin, maybe he doesn't knock you out, but you get beat up for like 12 rounds and you take some fights off your career. I don't think he wanted it. I still question whether or not he's a full-time fighter. I think he's kind of looking at it, well, I want a couple fights, but I want fights that I want, and I want to make some money, and I want to win. I think you're right. I think he looked at this kind of almost like, am I being served up? And I think the deal, people kind of criticize it, and they blame Bob Arum. These guys have invested a lot of money in this career. They're going to be protected. We're not going to give you a bunch of money unless we're going to get something out of it. I think it was a very sound proposal. And I agree. At the end of the day, the fighter either wants that money to fight that guy or he doesn't. He didn't.
And Gabe and Will, I think this has to be said, Top Rank did a good job. The question is, did they do too good of a job in creating this monster they can no longer control? Because look throughout the process, there has been a lot of enabling, a lot of excuse-making, a lot of covering up. They created what is now something that they can't control, whether it's the great matchmaking, whether it's moving weigh-ins, letting him cancel fights, going to the commission and saying these fines are ridiculous, protesting certain things. I just think to me that Chavez is so entitled that I think he does not realize, and talking to some people off the record about this deal will not be offered in perpetuity because you could make this fight in July. And as Bob Arum pointed out to me a couple days ago, once you move into September now you have a Pacquiao pay-per-view, and now you have a Mayweather pay-per-view, and then you have another Canelo pay-per-view if he beats Arizonde Lara. Guys, where if he wanted that Golovkin fight, said, okay, give me that deal again, guys, where do you schedule it? In the second half of the year.
And, as people criticize Golovkin, I want to point one thing out. People criticize Golovkin's opposition. Has Chavez ever beaten anybody as good as Matthew Macklin? That's something to keep in mind.
Gabe, maybe Andy Lee? Maybe
Maybe Andy Lee, I guess, but, no. Yeah, that's a great question. I just think with Chavez Jr., they created the monster, but I mean, it's just the minute you went into business going, all right, this kid has no amateur career, but he's got the right name. He's got a fighting frame. We could probably do something with him. He seems to know how to do it a little bit. The minute you got in bed in that business, it's just trouble. You're just trying to raise the rock star's son into another rock star, and it just shows how this business, you could do everything. You could promote right. You can invest all this money, but ultimately it's down to the fighter and his nature and his sense of self-discipline. Either he's got it or he doesn't got it. And Chavez Jr. is at that point where he's had so many chances, and I think they've created this moment where he thinks, well, I can pass on this fight because I still am Chavez Jr. I've got a couple more fights left in me where I'm viable if I keep winning, maybe even more. Maybe he goes after Saki Obika. He is the number one contender of the WBC for middleweight.
Just remember this, guys. He turned down a 2-fight, $12 million minimum. This is a guy that nearly lost to Brian Vera.
Yep.
So my point is this. If you can almost lose to Brian Vera at your weight class that you artificially created for a fraction of the money, if you're turning down $7 million for Golovkin, you could flat out make that accusation that he ducked Golovkin. I mean, I hate to say that, but just look at the math. Just look at the way it adds up. Will, we got to get running, okay?
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
If you want to call in, 347-215-7598. Gabe, who's next on deck here?
In the 347, you're live on the next round.